Hey ladies, happy Thursday and welcome to Praying for Your Husband Daily. So I have to apologize that I have missed a few days here and there, so I'm just getting that out in the open. I think we all need a little bit of extra grace this week from things just being a little out of the ordinary. Can I get an amen? So, sorry about that. I feel like a liar saying praying for your husband daily, but I hope for those of you who have participated in this series for at least a few times, hopefully you've decided to create this daily habit, whether or not there is a live video. And if that is true of you, man, I would love it if you would just comment in the video right now and just tell me that you're doing it, even if you don't catch the video. So that's just me hoping that even if we don't pray live together, you're still praying for your husband. So just in case you're new to this idea, this concept, or someone shared this video and you're seeing it and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fun. Real quick, let me just fill you in. So my name is Julie and I am a wife of 10 plus years. Christmas Day will actually be the half mark, so 10 and a half practically years I've been married to my husband. We've been together for closer to 14 years, and we have a little guy together. He is 2.5. So I'm a wife, a mama. I balance a full-time job, and I also, have things, right? We've all got things that we're interested in and passionate about, and, parts and things that you do, hobbies and groups that you're a part of. So we're all doing this juggling. And in doing all of that, we can find ourselves so busy that the thing that we love the most in this life, which hopefully is God, and then the person that we're meant to be most committed to, which according to God is our husband, he can fall down our list of priorities. And so one of the ways I've found to combat that is this praying for our husbands every single day, so that at the end of the day, when I put my head on the pillow at the end of the day, whether or not the kitchen was clean, or, the laundry is all done, whether or not I excelled at work that day, whether or not I remembered to feed my child well-balanced meals, I can know at the end of the day that I invested in my two primary relationships when I make the choice to pray for my husband. By praying to God, I'm growing in my relationship with him, and by serving my husband through prayer, I'm growing as a wife on my own, and it's an investment in my marriage. So that's why I'm committed to doing those things. So real quick, while I was saying all of that, I saw some of you comment. I hope that means that you're saying, yes, you're committed to doing this even when we don't do it live together, which I love. So today we're continuing through our series. We've been committed to, whether you like it or not, we're committed to running through the emoji keyboard and letting the emojis inspire us for different ways to pray for our husband. And so literally we are going left to right across the keyboard, so that I don't, forget what I've used and what I haven't used. I go to the section of the keyboard that I know I used last and pick the next emoji that I think can mean something toward our marriage. And so today I picked up the cactus. When you think of a cactus, do you not think of, ouch, it's going to prick me? That's what I thought of when I saw it. And I thought, oh my goodness, one of the primary times I need to pray for my husband is when there is some prickling going on. Now, I feel like this has become a recent heavy theme, so I apologize for that. But I'll kind of also say, hashtag sorry not sorry, because this is like a peek into my real life. And so me leading this time of praying for my husband, I'm also committed to just being honest about it. And so the last week has been kind of difficult between my husband and I. And then today's emoji choice legitimately just was that emoji to me equated to prickliness. And I actually think that part of the reason I started praying for my husband was because I didn't know how to communicate with him for some of the things that I felt were the deepest issues in our marriage. So I learned I can take those to God, even if I don't feel like I can take it to my husband. And so this idea of praying for our husbands when he's being prickly, I think it's one of the ways we've got to learn to pray for our husbands in that way, especially when that's an issue. Because what comes naturally is to be, rude, to be rude back to him because he's being rude to you. The silent treatment, maybe you're into that. I am so not into that because that is what my husband is into. So I'm like, let's talk this out. And he's like, I will talk to you maybe next week. So we all have our different ways of conflict. And so we've got to learn to properly address that conflict. And I know for me, that always is going to start with prayer. Because if I go to God about the issue I'm experiencing before I go to my husband, I'm way more likely to actually be coming to my husband in an appropriate way that's actually going to bring resolution. Otherwise, I just start like being crazy and weird and like lady crazy, yelling or whatever, because he's being silent. So for me, when he's being silent, I just want to get louder. Like, if I talk loud enough, will you acknowledge me? Which in the moment, I don't see as crazy as it is as I'm saying it to you all right now. So we've got to learn how to figure out how to take his prickliness, and I'll be honest, we got to turn this back around and say sometimes we're prickly, right? Sometimes. But to be able to go to God in those moments first, as our first line of defense, and to really just be able to discern then how best to approach them. So that's really kind of the area I wanted to take this today, because we've talked a lot recently just about conflict and bringing peace and fighting fair and those kinds of things. But I think the way to kind of make this one a little bit different is to recognize that part of the reason you got married, now tell me if I'm the only one who would have cited this way back when, so try to remember way back when you were engaged, what was one of the main things you were looking forward to in becoming a wife? Now, for me, and maybe for you, my husband and I did not live together until we were married. And so I remember one of the things I was looking to the most was that companionship element. The fact that I would no longer have to go home alone, that he would always be there at the end of the day. I think that that's one form of one thing that most engaged women or dating women or women who hope to be married one day, is that idea of having someone to come home to, someone who will always be there, that constant companion. And so when we're thinking about the ways that our husband can get prickly today, I want us to keep that in mind, because the truth is you chose to connect yourself in a covenant with this man because you never wanted to spend a night without him, right? Whether you would have said that sentence exactly the same yourself, whether you would have said that or not, that's actually part of the commitment you made. I want to spend every day with this person. I want to start and end every day with this person. And so if you really want that commitment, we would be wise to learn how to interact with our guy when he's just being a little prickly. Because it's going to happen. He's going to get stressed. He's going to get stressed at work or because of work or because he has no work. He's going to get stressed because you're pregnant as a couple and he's worried about how everything's going to change. He's going to get stressed because he's fighting with his dad. Whatever, he's going to get stressed just like you're going to get stressed. And when those things happen, we treat the ones who are closest to us, good or not good, it's not good, but it's common. We start to kind of treat those already closest to us, i.e. our spouse, we treat them more prickly because we feel like they can handle it. And so part of our job as a spouse is to learn how best to interact with our husband in those moments. So part of it is knowing when to just give some space. Part of it is knowing when you need to speak, like to maybe stop the behavior from getting worse. Part of it is just knowing like what he needs in that moment. Does he need you to bake fresh cookies? I don't know. That's like a super like flowery or like surfacey example. But in a recent argument with my husband, he said something to me like, "You've known me for 14 years. You know what I want." I honestly couldn't even tell you without like having an awkward silent moment of trying to remember what we were talking about. But that phrase stuck in my brain because the truth is I have known him. That's part of the reason you're married. You know him to a level that no one else ever will know him. And that's part of the privilege, that's part of the great responsibility, and that's part of the beauty of a marriage relationship. It's that you and he are so connected that you know him at his very best and you know him at his worst. But what we've got to figure out as wives, it's this balancing act of when he's showing his worst sides, to remember those things that make him his best and know how to like bring those out. So how to interact with him when he's prickly, it's like a dancing act. And sometimes I come out on the floor with 2 left feet. The truth is this white girl can't dance. I just can't. I can't. It's not one of my talents, and that's okay. But we've got to figure out how to do the dance with our husbands. And we want our husbands to do the very same for us, right? Like, we want him to know how to deal with us when we just need a little extra TLC, but maybe we don't want it. You know what I mean? Like, we all get that way where we're kind of just being a little rough, and we want the person that we love to know how to fix it. And sometimes they just can't. And we want them to know when to say something and when to not say something. And that just comes, guys, it just comes with practice, with commitment, with communication, with reconciliation every single time there's an argument, or an arguscussion, as you all know I like to call it. And it just comes with like time and time and time. And I think, I'm not going to get on the soapbox because honestly I'm trying to squeeze a workout in before I go pick up my son. So I'm not going to get on the soapbox, but I think part of the reason people's marriages fail is because we're not willing to learn this valuable lesson. And I'm not saying I've learned it. I'm saying I recognize it's a lesson I need to continue to be devoted to learning. And the truth is he's going to change over time. Like, hopefully for the better, right? Like, hopefully we're all growing in such a way that what works for me today, what would work for my husband to use on me in a moment of frustration, hopefully it won't work in 2 years, because hopefully I'll be more mature in Christ. I'll be more mature as a, confident woman who loves God and knows her talents and her gifts. Hopefully I'll be more mature, and so that the way I need to be handled in a difficult situation will change, right? Is that jiving with anyone? I hope that makes some sense. I hope that I grow enough that the way my husband learns me over time changes. And I want to be committed to learning him over time and being willing to do what it takes in each and every moment to move past the prickle and get close and to really like connect with him in those difficult times as much as in the great, happy, easy times. So hopefully my connection is still working. It's saying that my connection is weak. I hope that doesn't mean it's going to cut out. But all that being said, let's pray for just this ability to grow as wives in seeing our husbands and being able to see the good during a tough circumstance, a tough interaction, and being willing to love him the way that he needs. I think it comes down to learning your spouse. And I feel like we've talked about that a little bit before. Maybe in the beginning of this emoji series, we used the glasses to talk about studying our spouse. I feel like that one was semi-similar. So if you want to maybe just kind of unpack this idea a little more, you could go to my past videos and look for that. Study your spouse, I think is one. It might be on my YouTube as well. I don't know. All right. All of that being said, hurry. Let's get to the praying part. Otherwise, I'm going to skip this workout. And y'all don't want me to do that because that's when I get prickly. That is like a legit thing. All right. Hurry. Let's pray. Oh, God, thank you so much for who you are. And thank you that you love us and you know each and every one of us intimately and individually. You know what makes us tick. You know what makes us crack. You know what brings us joy. You know what brings us anxiety. And God, at the same time, you are the answer to all of it. And we're so thankful that you make yourself known to us through your word, and you indwell us with your spirit, and you equip us to look more and more and more like your son, and you give us grace when we fail to represent him well. God, that is the good news of the gospel for me and for my friends today. So first, we acknowledge it. We choose to rest in it, to find our hope in it, to find our worth in it. God, we as women can try to find our worth in every single external thing about us, but it has nothing to do with us. Our worth comes from you. So God, we thank you for that, and we choose to accept that and lean into that. And God, as wives, we want to be the kind of women who are willing to love our husbands when they seem unlovable, who are willing to study them in such a way that we know what they need when maybe their words or their expressions or their body language might be screaming, leave me alone. God, we want to learn to know our husbands well enough to know how they need our love and attention and affection during difficult, frustrating, hard to read circumstances. God, I know this is something you're teaching me in this season, to better know and understand my husband's needs, even when he's difficult to read or difficult to receive. I do pray that you'd give me a desire to not run away when when he seems difficult to understand, but instead in those moments to lean in and invest even more, to be more vulnerable in those moments, to get to a deeper and more connected level with my husband. And God, I pray that you would give our husbands that same desire, that they wouldn't be afraid to understand how we can sometimes be crazy and hard to read and hard to understand and hard to please, if we're being honest. But would you give our husbands a desire to lean in closer to us, even when we might give off a vibe that we don't want to be bothered, we want to be left alone, we want space. Often, God, what we really want is for him to understand us without having to be told how to understand us. So would you give our husbands a desire to study us more completely, more intentionally, more wholly, in such a way that our marriages would begin to be stronger, that they would be deeper, that they would be more emotional connection, more spiritual connection, more physical connection. Ultimately, that we would be more committed to each other than we are to our own individual happiness or individual rightness on any given day. Because sometimes, God, it seems like I'm more committed to being right than I am to being unified with my husband. And I know that doesn't honor you, it doesn't please you, and it's not the best thing for my marriage. So would you show me where I'm lacking in this area? Would you show me how to grow in this area? Would you equip us to be wives who recognize that often when our husbands are seeming prickly, or when we're seeming prickly, it actually has nothing to do with each other. It's more to do with our circumstances, and we choose to take it out on our spouse. So keep us from doing that, God, because we know that that's not great for us. It's not great for him. It's not great for us. It's not great for our marriage. It's not great for our kids. It doesn't do anyone any good. So God, we're thankful that you give us grace for this, but we also ask that you would grow us and shape us in this specific area, that we would be less prickly and that our husbands would be less prickly, but that we would also be wise and discerning enough to know how to love, how to speak, how to walk, how to act when we inevitably are experiencing these difficulties on our side or on his side in our marriages. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. All right, so I'm a little concerned that today's video was like really cutting in and out, so I apologize for that. Well, hello there, Mr. Paul. I hope you go back and start from the beginning. That would be kind of fun. All right, y'all, so that will be today's edition of Praying for Your Husband Daily. If you know another woman who would appreciate just some real talk about marriage, the good times, the prickly times, and how we can grow as wives as we seek to grow in our relationship with God first, and then just be honest about where we're struggling, and be honest first and foremost with God. So if you know somebody that could maybe relate to that, feel free to pass this video on, share it on your page, or you can just tag your friend in the video and they hopefully will give it a watch. All right, Renee. That was a fun word for the day. All right, y'all, you have an excellent night, and I will see you tomorrow.